You might be wondering how to regulate your child's screen time in a reasonable way. In the private consults I do, this comes up quite a bit. In this video, I'm going to quickly go over why that's important, but mostly I'm just going to get right into how to monitor it step by step. You probably already know studies have found that children who use electronics for more than an hour a day have problems that can be connected to the use of screens. They are more likely to be obese, have sleep problems, behavior problems, impaired academic performance, have less emotional stability, are more likely to argue with their parents, have a harder time making friends, are more distracted, they show less curiosity about learning, about the world around them, and are more likely to give up on tasks they find challenging or before they have completed the tasks. So obviously, screen time isn't something you want to be a large part of your child's world. First, I want you to know that I don't recommend any regular screen time for children under 6 years old, except for about 1 hour or so of educational programming, such as videos or TV shows that teach lessons of some kind, and maybe a movie night with a family once a week or so, something like that. But generally, they should not be on screens at all other than this. They certainly should not have free time on screens. So here's a step-by-step plan to get screen time for your children who are over 6 years old under control. Number 1, have a sit-down conversation. This is often number 1 on my list when I'm giving step-by-step instructions. Your relationship with your child hinges on communication, and your child will actually appreciate it if you take the time to explain to them why screen time needs to be limited. If you would like a free download of all the reasons I just gave so you can talk to your children about those things and about other points that we're going to talk about here, you can find that in the links below or under the Downloads tab at my website at mommyanswerlady.com. So, talk those things over with your child and give them that information so they will be clear in understanding why you are concerned and why you're limiting their screen time. When they know it is for their own good and that it is well thought out, they are much more likely to keep from being angry or resentful about the limits you're setting for them. Number 2, parents own the devices. It's important that your child realize that the electronic devices in the home, including the PC, tablets, game devices, and phones, are owned and managed by the parents. Children should not own these items until they are adults. Why? Because some of these devices can access the internet, which must be monitored by the parent, and all the devices can be addictive. Screen addiction is a very common and real problem among both adults and children. When a child owns a device themselves, they feel an entitlement to use it whenever they want and begin to resent the parent for restricting its use. This can cause unnecessary conflict in the home. So set up the whole issue of electronic devices in such a way that your children recognize that these things are owned by the adults, and when they are able to use them, it is a privilege, not a right. Number 3, put screens in plain sight. Obviously, no matter how much you do to regulate your children on screens, there will always be the temptation for them to wander into places they should not go and stay on the devices longer than they are allowed. So, to avoid this kind of issue, make sure all the screen devices are set up in places in your home that are not private. A room with a lot of traffic is the best place so you can always see the device without having to go through a closed door to do so. Number 4, install parental controls. Also, it's important to have a monitoring device on anything that is connected to the internet and to set parental controls. For obvious reasons, this is just a basic of having children in your home and also having internet. You can also find a link to a good device to do this in the description below. Number 5, say no to smartphones. Social media has become a real problem for children in our world today. It has led to online bullying, sexual victimization, confusion over sex, depression and anxiety issues, kidnappings, and even suicide. There's no real benefit to a child having a smartphone. A phone that only has the capability of making a call or texting is good enough once a child is old enough to drive. Don't allow your child to have a phone that will give them unlimited access to the internet full of predators and bullies who will target them for victimhood. Even phones that have parental controls can be overridden by tech-savvy children. There really aren't any benefits to giving them this kind of access, but there are a lot of reasons not to do so. Number 6, time limits. Like I said, I don't think any screen time should be specifically allocated for children under 6. Just generally keep them away from screens other than an hour or so of educational programming that you have carefully screened ahead of time yourself. For those 6 to 10 years old, about a half hour of game time per day and about 1 hour of educational programming is reasonable. But that's only if they have a lot of time outside doing projects, exploring, reading, etc. The majority of their free time should be taken up by endeavors that do not involve a screen. Number 7, be careful about content. In recent years, there has been a real problem with children's programming that is pushing a leftist agenda on kids. Media sources that used to be trusted like Sesame Street, Blue's Clues, Nickelodeon, and Disney, or even regular children's cartoons, are now promoting immorality and even sexual deviances as normal to young children. You can no longer trust these and other companies to provide content for your children. Be vigilant and don't allow your children to watch any programs that you have not screened ahead of time. You'll find a great resource in the description below at www.pluggedin.com that will tell you everything you need to know about any specific movies, books, games, TV, and etc. You can read up on a movie before you buy tickets and before you allow your children to watch TV, cartoons, or play a game by checking it out on that website first. Number 8, make screen time an earned privilege. One of the advantages to screen time is that it can be a real motivator for your children. If it's within reasonable limits, the benefit of it is that your children will be motivated to do whatever it is they need to do in order to earn that privilege. So make screen time something that is earned by completing all the responsibilities for the day. For example, they have to get up on time in the morning, they have to make their bed, do their chores or family contributions as I call them, complete their homework, not argue and fight with their siblings or with you, and get completely ready for bed on time before screen time is earned. Another important point in making this workable is that they must complete all these things before they ask for screen time. If they ask and have not completed all this first, they lose the privilege for the evening. This will help motivate them not to keep asking you until everything is done. Now, if you're consistent, using screen time as a motivator can be a real benefit. And just a little tip here. I wouldn't take all screen time away at one time during the day, except in the evening when they ask before everything is completed. For example, if they start to argue with their sibling, you can say, "You've just lost 5 minutes of your screen time for this evening. You best stop arguing or you'll lose more." This is a great way to help motivate them to regulate their own behavior, but it also leaves plenty of screen time left to use as a motivator through the rest of the day. I wanted to let you know before I move on that if you need more help with your child's behavior issues and you'd like to set up a private consultation with me, you can do that at my website, mommyanswerlady.com. Number 9, do not allow devices during family activities. One of the saddest things I see is when I go into a restaurant and either the children or the parents are on their cell phones. They're ignoring each other at a perfect time when they could have great conversation and build up their relationships. Make it a rule from the start that cell phones and other electronic devices are not allowed at meals or during other family activities. Talk to your children about how important it is to engage in conversations with others during meals, and that using those devices instead of that is actually rude and disregarding of the other people around them. Number 10, be consistent. One of the things that causes children to become angry and resentful is inconsistency. Remember, consistency is the key to effectiveness. If your child is already addicted to screens and you're looking for ways to change that, click on the screen now for a video on how to solve this very difficult problem. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe. Parents, you can do this. I hope to see you here next time.